This is my ultimate smart home. I'm going to show you all 150 plus smart home devices, including doorbell cameras, smart shades, light switches, lamps, under cabinet lighting, LED strips, the studio where I film all my content and everything's in Apple Home, multiple smart locks, my smart garage door opener, HomeKit secure video cameras, leak sensors, and a ton more. And as we go through each room, I'm going to show you some helpful automations that makes having a smart home actually worth it. And if you've seen my past videos, what smart home devices have lasted the 3+ years and which devices I had to replace. So let me take you inside. Now we're going to go in the front door in a second, but I do want to show you, I have my garage door mapped to my action button. So it automatically opens. That's using the Meross garage door opener. I'll tell you about that when we actually jump to the garage, but that means I can open and close it from my action button, from the voice assistant, or just using the actual home app. Honestly, I control my smart home a lot with my watch, so I'll say things like, and asking my watch to close the garage, it's actually pretty responsive. Also, if you saw my video last year, there are smart outdoor lights. Those are the Govee permanent outdoor lights all along the house. I kept those up all year round and they're still working great for this holiday season. They connect to the home app via Matter. You can program them, schedule them. Those have been great. Now, when someone comes to the front door, we still have the Logitech Circle View doorbell camera. Now this thing is in desperate need of an upgrade because it's still 1080p, the viewing angle isn't great, but it's actually one of only 2 doorbell cameras that support HomeKit secure video, meaning I don't have to pay another subscription for the video recordings. It works directly with my iCloud account and Apple Home. Your 2 options are the Logitech and the Aqara video doorbell. The Aqara one does have 2K video quality support, but HomeKit secure video still maxes out at 1080p. So even if you get the Aqara one, your recordings and video here in the Apple Home app is still just going to be 1080. So I've kept it. I've had it for 3.5 years, still works great. All right, let's head inside. Before anybody comments, I know the TV is too high. If anyone puts TV too high in the comments, you're banned. Now I'll also point out the smart speakers and home theater setups, but I want to talk about these smart shades. These are both SmartWing shades. I have them paired as a group here, so I can just tap the card on my phone and both shades will lower or raise. I've had this smart shades for the last 3 years and it's still working great. This left one, it stopped responding in HomeKit, so I actually replaced it with SmartWing's new Matter controller. It was actually faster to set up, and in just my last couple of days of using it, it's been a little more reliable. And one of the automations I have programmed is the shades raise at sunrise and lower at sunset. And of course, you can ask the voice assistant just to control it. Open the living room shades, and you'll see both the shades open automatically. I'll also point out where I have HomePod minis and HomePods to control the smart home. This is just a single HomePod mini we use here in the kitchen, but we can shout to it, ask for controls. I use these little shelves all around the house, and I'll put links to this and every smart home device I'm talking about down in the video description. I also have a page on my website, and you can go to beard.fm/home, where I have all my smart home devices categorized. You can click a category, jump to it, and there's also chapters in this video if you want to jump to a specific room. So all those links down in the description. Now over here in the corner, I actually have a Meross lamp. I call it the kitchen lamp, and the main purpose is whenever I'm recording, my studio is on the other side of this wall. So when I set my filming scenes, that lamp turns on, turning red. And I also have under cabinet lighting here. This is actually GE, I believe it's Matter. I've paired the entire strip as one controller, just cabinet lights. And this I also have scheduled to turn on at sunset, and then you can also change the colors. If you're having a themed party, you can use your under cabinet lighting for that. Now, one of the nice things about having a smart home is you can control multiple devices at once. And back here, I actually have an Aqara Mini button, and I have this set to different scenes here in the main living room. If I click it twice, that's the leaving kitchen scene where it turns off all the lights, except it leaves these island lights just a little dim. And if I click it once, or just shout to my HomePod Mini, my entering kitchen scene, then it turns on all the lights, and all these lights are on different groups and switches, which I'll get to in a second. So this is the pantry. There's actually a motion sensor in there that should turn on the light as soon as it detects motion. We can see right now the light's off. Let's open the door and see if it turns on. And boom, we're good to go. There's the Philips Hue motion sensor pointed right at the door, and when it detects motion, turns on the light, and then it turns the light off 10 minutes later. All right, here we have some coffee paraphernalia, and I actually have my coffee grinder on a smart switch. This is the Meross smart plug right here, and its only job is to make sure my coffee grinder doesn't overflow. For that, I call it my coffee grinder auto, and one of the automation triggers you can have in Apple Home is when an accessory is controlled. So I have when coffee grinder turns on, and then what it does is a simple 2-step shortcut. It waits 120 seconds, 2 minutes, and then it turns off the coffee grinder. But I don't have to think about it, the smart plug turns it off. Here in our guest bath, sometimes the kids use it and they like playing music when they take a shower, so there's another HomePod Mini on a little shelf. There's one of the little 3D printed guys my son leaves everywhere, but let's talk about smart light switches. So when we built this house 3.5 years ago, I tried a bunch of light switches. I have a whole video of how I installed them. Some of them don't exist anymore, like the Wemos. Belkin's discontinued its smart home brand, but I'm slowly trying to convert everything to the Lutron switches. This is their new Diva dimmer, which has the dimmer here, looks just like a normal paddle switch. And this is the Lutron Claro, so no dimmer, just on off, but still looks like just a normal paddle switch. Lutron light switches are just the most reliable, rock solid, and they make it the easiest to have 3- and 4-way switch connections. For instance, this is a 4-way light switch. These are the main lights here in the living room. It controls those 6 can lights right there. And when you use the Lutron 3- and 4-way setups, you can put a dimmer in one location and then these companion switches, which are only about $20 in the other locations. Here's one of the places where I put another companion light switch. You'll see there's actually 3 Leviton ones here, but here's another Lutron companion switch. These control those main lights as well. And these were the 2 switches I recently switched out. They were previously Meross smart switches, now they're Lutrons, and this dimmer works on those main lights, and the 4-way companions still work. And when it comes to smart speakers here in the living room, I still use the Sonos Arc. This is not the Ultra, the newer version, but this one still sounds great, and it's paired with the Sonos Sub, which is being disrespected by this basket, but people put stuff on it all the time. But this combo, the Sonos Sub, that's actually the Gen 3 with the Sonos Arc. This sounds great. If you're watching this around Black Friday, by the way, there's going to be some great deals on Sonos equipment, so links in the description. And one last piece, I would consider this a smart home device. This is a record player. We've never had one before, and I didn't have a whole setup. But I saw this Victrola. It actually connects to Sonos gear. So we can play a record and it wirelessly streams to that Sonos Arc and Sub, and it doesn't take up too much space. Oh, one other thing, this is the new Level Lock Pro, but I'll talk about that when we get out to the patio. All right, let's go into the family room where we have a bunch of other stuff. Now, all the lights around the house are connected to smart switches. So Lutron switches control those can lights, the ceiling fan, and the ceiling fan light. These I've still not replaced. These are the older style Lutron dimmers and switches, but they're still rock solid and work great. And most of the time we use them with scenes and just using our voice. So I haven't switched these out to the new ones. And the thermostat is still the Ecobee thermostat. This isn't the top of the line one that's been out now. I got this, again, 3.5 years ago, but it still works great, connects with HomeKit, so I've left that. And underneath those switches, you'll see my favorite robot vacuum, which I actually use all the time. And this brief portion is sponsored by Dreame. This is the Dreame X50 Ultra. It's a robot vacuum and mop with a dual roller main brush, plus side brush extend so it gets into all the crevices and cracks, and mop extend so it can make sure your baseboards are clean. I've been using this for months now and is, I think, my favorite Dreame robot. The dock is low profile, it has auto emptying, it also dispenses detergent automatically as it's mopping the floor, and the Ace Clean dry board actually fires 20 high temperature spray nozzles for a spotless streak-free washboard. And I've used lots of robot vacuums over the years. This one does actually stay really clean. 20,000 Pascal suction, so if it's vacuuming, it's going to pick up all the things. It also has a retractable detop system, so it can lower and get under some of those furnitures. It gets under hard to reach places, and it navigates around our bar stools, all around the chairs and tables. And it also has a Pro Leap system. Previous robot vacuums would always get stuck when it would go into our bathroom and drop down into the shower. But the X50 Ultra can actually lift itself out. No more stuck robot vacuum. It has carpet boost or carpet avoidance. It has excellent object recognition, and as you can see, my kids have a lot of stuff around the house. It does a great job avoiding all of that. And using it with the Dreame Home app is super easy. You can clean rooms, zones, or your entire house, or use the Clean Genius feature, and it will figure out how much it needs to clean every area. Time Magazine actually called it one of the best inventions of 2025. You can get it on Amazon or directly from the Dreame website. I have a discount code. I'll put it here on screen and in the description. And if you're watching around Black Friday, this is also going to be up to 50% off, which is a wild deal. So if you want to get the best robot vacuum and mop or upgrade your current one, the Dreame X50 Ultra is the one. My thanks to Dreame for sponsoring this video. So back to the lights, you can see that the ceiling fan light, the main lights, all of this is in the Home app, and I can control it all, including the ceiling fan speed. Plus those are all part of scenes, which I'll show you in a moment for like when we're going to watch a movie or a good night scene, things like that. Also, this was a sponsored video a little while ago, but I still use the skylight, and the kids really enjoy using it with the rewards. I can put videos and photos on there that scroll whenever we're not using it. And hidden in the corner is actually a Vocal Link floor lamp. It's one of the more expensive floor lamps, but when I'm recording, I do have this turn on red. This way, maybe people will see that I'm recording and try not to be loud. Also, this isn't really an Apple HomeKit device, but I still use the tidbit little LED screen here. Shows my YouTube info, shows weather and other info in the evening, so I like that. Now, this entire sofa is actually a smart sofa. This is actually the Lovesac Stealth Tech with all the speakers built in. It sounds really good. I did a whole video on it, but when we built this house, I spent all the time to install ceiling speakers and even in-wall speakers for the theater, so I moved back to my regular home theater system and using my 7-speaker sub and all that. Now over here to the left, this is actually the studio where I record, and there is a lot going on in this room. from smart devices to LED lights, so I'm gonna save this to the end. Remember, there's chapters below this video. You can jump to the different rooms. I'll save that for last. When it comes to home theater viewing, I still use the Hue gradient light strip behind the TV. That works with the Hue sync box, so if we want to turn on the syncing lights, movies like Mario and really colorful kids movies, it's pretty fun to have those on there. We have an egregious amount of video game systems like the Switch 2, PS5. Here's my home theater receiver, and this is also where I keep my main Apple TV, so that's the newest Apple TV 4K, and I also recently got a Google streamer. That's that little white box above the receiver. I'm going to be testing Gemini in the theater, because why not? And always I have to show my Star Wars puzzle. I think it's a 2,000-piece puzzle, did that over Christmas a couple years ago. And then this is actually my kids' bathroom. A couple things here. HomePod's hanging with a different kind of mount from the outlet. And we do have 3 Lutron switches, the Diva and 2 Claros to control things like the exhaust fan, the shower light, and then the actual dimming vanity. But in this room, I have a sensor. So down here is the Aqara, I believe it's the P2 sensor. You actually don't need an Aqara hub for that, but the automation is whenever that sensor opens, it turns off all the lights after about 10 seconds, because often my kids will turn on the lights and the exhaust fans, leave, and then not turn them off. So if we wait a couple seconds, I have it on a delay so they can exit and get out of the bathroom, and then the lights turn off by themselves. As you can see, I have a lot of automation set up. Many of them are timed, like the shades opening and closing in the main living room with sunrise or sunset. I also have smart shades in the bedroom, which we'll get to soon. But this is that kid's bathroom door automation. So when a door opens, so that's that P2 sensor, it senses that, it's just going to turn off all the things, including pausing the music on the HomePod, which if you didn't know, you can actually control audio through the Apple Smart Home controls and even shortcuts. So that's pretty cool. And speaking of shortcuts, I've shown this in past videos, but I do have a watch something shortcut. This asks me what room I'm actually watching something in, and if it's in the family room, which is where we are now, it actually wakes the Apple TV, sets the family room movie scene, which will turn off the lights, turns on the Hue sync box and the Hue light strip, and then opens my phone to actually control the TV. And this is the power of shortcuts, because it can incorporate both Apple Home actions, third-party actions like the Hue sync box, and even control the Apple TV. Real quick, we'll go to the utility room. This has a simple light, and you guessed it, have a Lutron Diva dimmer right here, but also the Thorbolt X1. It's one of the best value HomeKit locks. I did an entire reviewing it just by itself. I'll link it above. It uses Apple Home Key, so you can just tap your watch or your phone and it's gonna unlock super fast. Plus you can do a keypad or physical key. And I actually just got the Thorbolt X3 to review, so get subscribed, that's coming soon. Now, this utility room goes into the garage. Garage lights, these are actually Meross switches. These were some of the cheapest HomeKit switches I could find when we built the house. They're still working great, even on the other side of the cinder block wall, so I've just kept them there. And the garage door opener, you can see up there, that's the Genie engine, but the Meross little adapter thing is above that. It's been rock solid. I mean, it's not Thread, it's Wi-Fi. It's the same model that's been around for years, but it still works like 99.9% of the time, so it's great. Now, I do have some cameras outside, which we'll get to, but I also have the Aqara G2H camera in here because I like being able to see if the garage door is actually open or closed. One of the things the Meross sensor gets wrong sometimes is whether or not the garage door is actually closed. So I can pop in here to this Aqara camera. This is also HomeKit secure video, so I don't have to pay another subscription for it. And I can take a look inside my garage wherever I am in the world. And also back here, I actually have an Eve water guard. That's a water leak sensor, and that little rope goes down to the floor. And if it ever gets wet, it will beep and alert me through the home app that there's a leak. I also have leak sensors in every bathroom, and I'll show you those in the master bathroom when we get to it. Now, the kids' rooms actually have some smart devices like sensors and LED lights. You can see some nanoleaf shapes back there. I'm not going to show you the whole room because it might be traumatizing to see how messy that is. But here's a Lutron light switches, the older style, ceiling fan light, ceiling fan control here, same in my daughter's room. Now, on this side of the family room, I'm still using the Leviton scene controller, and this works pretty well. So you can have multiple scenes on these buttons, and then the bottom button actually controls whatever light this switch was attached to. So you actually replace a light switch. So that controls the light inside the closet. And then I can hit any of these scenes, like let's do the bedtime scene. If I hit that, it should shut off the main lights here in the family room. And that's the scene we'll run when we're just getting ready to go to bed. And then if I wanted to, I can hit the good morning scene at the top of the Leviton scene controller, turns on all the lights. I like having a scene controller like this because it's easy to use. You can use little labels to say exactly what it is. And while the Leviton switches are a little hit and miss, this scene controller has been pretty solid. All right, so let's head into the master bedroom. First thing you'll see, 2 smart shades. These are actually 2 different brands. I use this room to do a lot of testing. So that's the Eve motion blinds. I believe that is a Canon stick, but I could say something like open master bedroom shades. And there they go. I've been using this setup since we moved in. This is a Sonos Beam, an old LG TV. But I do use the overkill rear speakers of Aqara 300. So I have one there and another one over there. Is that overkill for a bedroom? Yes. Now behind the headboard, ever since we moved in, I actually have an Eve LED light strip. The adhesive would always wear off, so I actually use these little metal clamps to hold it to the headboard. But I really like using that in the evenings as opposed to any of the ceiling lights. Still got the old Lutron switches for ceiling fan light control and then the canned lights. But the newest addition is really unnecessary. Yes, I still use the 12 South Hi-Rise 3 Deluxe as my charger. I mean, just look at that footprint. It's hard to beat. I do have a HomePod Mini here with a little bamboo stand, mostly for shouting to it for smart home control. But this thing right here, this is the Hue Twilight lamp. I got this because I listened to the Vergecast with Jen Toohey and David Pierce. This is a $300 lamp. It is totally unnecessary. It's also awesome. So it has two lights. There's a light on the front that you can control, that's surfaced in HomeKit, and then a second light, which is surfaced in HomeKit. It actually shines out the back and bounces against the wall. It is really nice, especially for the evening when you just want a soft light. But what really got me is there's actually two buttons on the top, and these buttons are actually surfaced in HomeKit as well. So I programmed one to my goodnight scene and another to a different scene. And if this thing's ever on sale, I would highly recommend grabbing it. I love the look of it, especially in the evening. It has kind of this cork bottom, so you don't have to hear it kind of rubbing against the nightstand if you move it. Really like that thing. So here you'll see in HomeKit, I have the Twilight front, which is the front of the lamp, and it gets really dim, but you can also use the ambient lighting throughout the day. This way it changes all day with the sun. And there's also the backlight. I'll turn that all the way up and you see it bounces off the back. And then you also have the two buttons here that's surfaced, and you can program any HomeKit scene you want to that button. So I have the goodnight scene set as one button, different scene for the other button. And I use a lot of HomeKit buttons. I'll show you some of those in my studio, but most HomeKit buttons are battery powered. They'll die after a while. Having actually hardware buttons like this on a device that's just plugged in all the time, I really love that. Oh, and what do you know? There's my Apple Vision Pro. I still have my Yale Assure lock going out to the patio. We'll go out there in a minute, but I do want to show you the bathroom. So 3 Lutron switches here. This is something I'd switched out in the last year. Lutron Diva and 2 Claro. This one is the shower light and then the exhaust fan, but I have a pretty cool automation for that one. And Lutron switches here for the toilet room, both for the exhaust fan and the can light. Now, I mentioned I was going to show you my water leak sensors, and these are basically under every sink in every bathroom. These are the Aqara ones, pretty inexpensive. Does require the hub, but I've been alerted to water leaks, and so keeping those. Also got the little HomePod Mini stands that plug into the outlet. Once Apple releases HomePod Mini 2, I'm going to be replacing a lot of these. But I like these little stands that keep the HomePod Minis off the counter, but everyone can still listen to music. Also, those are Canisteo shades up there. If I open that, pretty responsive. That's also Matter over Thread. And they're part of an automation that I'm going to show you right now. Basically, what we wanted is anytime someone's going to take a shower, we wanted all the windows to be covered. And because we live in Florida, we wanted that ceiling fan to turn on. So I used an automation when an accessory is controlled, and specifically the exhaust fan here in the shower. So anytime this turns on, all the shades lower, both in the bathroom and the bedroom, ceiling fan turns on, and I'll show you it right now. Now, the ceiling fan should turn on in a moment, and the shades should also start lowering. So there you go. You see the shades are lowering right now. The fan just turned on. And if I go over here, the Canisteo shade in the bathroom also closes automatically. That's one of the cool things of HomeKit, being able to automate all of that just with a click of a button. So that automation is right here, shower shades and fan. And here you'll see when the shower fan turns on, it's going to control all these accessories, lowering all the shades and turning on the ceiling fan in the bedroom. But you'll also see this automation only runs between 9 a.m. and 9 p.m. So if I'm taking a shower super early in the morning, or maybe one of us doing it super late at night, it's not going to do anything to the shades or mess with the ceiling fan in the bedroom. So when an accessory is controlled between these times, these things happen. And then the other automation I have here in the bathroom is when you turn off the main vanity lights with this switch, everything in the bathroom turns off, including the toilet room, the closet, everything. So if I hit that one switch which turns off the vanity lights, you'll see in a second or two, both the shower light and the bathroom lights are all going to turn off automatically. This way the entire bathroom's off just by clicking that one off switch. All right, let's open the shades here in the bedroom real quick before we go outside. I'll just use the Home app for that. Again, pretty responsive and quick, and let's go outside. On this door going from the master bedroom to the patio, I still use the Yale Assure lock. This uses Apple Home Key. And I like that it also has a keypad on the outside so the kids can use it, and you can program all of that in the Home app. It's a little bit of a mess here on the patio. I do have a couple robot vacuums for the pool. That Aqara one is the one we pretty much default to. That's the screen for the Nebula X1 Pro. I did a whole video on that on the channel. But everything out here is also automated. So all those canned lights are on a smart switch that's controlled inside the house, including the patio fans, and I have a cool automation for that. If we go over here, it's also a mess, but this is the previous deadbolt from the patio door. But I have the Topo 2K pan and tilt camera here. That's actually using HomeKit Secure Video, so I don't have to pay a subscription for that. My Sonos Moves and Sonos One SLs, which are completely trash, but they still work great. Yes, I have to clean those. But I have a bunch of sensors out here, including the Eve Weather. This is the Eve Motion. And yes, a yellow HomePod Mini that is looking pretty rough. And a contact sensor here. But some of the automations that I'm using for that, I use that Eve Weather and the motion sensor for this, patio fans if hot. And if the temperature is over 77 degrees by that Eve Weather and motion is detected, so if someone walks out on the patio, it's going to turn on the patio fans. I have this disabled right now because it's actually cool in Florida, but this way, if someone walks out and it's hot, the patio fans turn on automatically. You'll see here the patio cans are on right now, and if I turn on the patio fans, it takes a second, but that's a Lutron Claro switch that's inside, and that's controlling the fans. They'll get up to speed in a minute, and so that would happen automatically when it's hot. Now you also see I have the pool lights and a pool floodlight programmed here. I recorded at night so you could see, but those LED lights in the pool are controlled by a switch inside the living room, but I could time that to turn on at like 8 p.m., turn off at another time, or if we're gonna go in the hot tub, I could turn them on as well. Now I actually have some outdoor cameras like an Eve outdoor cam on that barn that we'll get to in a second, and some circle view cameras along the side. But one of the new smart home devices, I actually replaced my Eve Eve Aqua. The Eve Aqua lasted for 3 years, it worked really well. Then it just stopped working. I couldn't get it to reset, or even changing the batteries didn't do it. So I'm using that. That's the Meross water spigot controller. It doesn't use thread, and it does require the Meross hub, which is unfortunate. But if you have one of those hubs, it's easy to set up, and it's been rock solid. And the reason why is we use this garden hose to fill the pool, but I want to make sure it always turns off automatically. So I can turn on the pool hose, that's controlling that Meross spigot, and you'll see the water turns on. And then I have it automatically programmed to turn off after 2 hours. Or I could turn it off manually just using this or the voice assistant. And that's a built-in Apple Home action. You don't need to use the Meross app for that. You'll see the default runtime is 2 hours, and then the hose turns off automatically. It's also nice because you could use the voice assistant on your phone or watch and say, turn on the pool hose. And it's actually pretty quick to respond, even though it's not a thread device. So not bad on Meross. Now while we're out here, if we go along the side of the house, I do have 2 old Logitech circle view cameras. They connect and disconnect sometimes because the Wi-Fi is not great. It's through a cinder block wall out here. But I got one up there, not really pointed at anything. But these are weatherproof. They've been out here through several hurricanes. I got the other one over there. And again, the nice thing about HomeKit Secure Video, I'm not paying another subscription for all these cameras and 30 days of recordings. It's still maxed out at 1080p. I wish Apple would update that. That's an Apple Home issue. But you can see I got my patio topo camera here. I got the Logitech Circle View camera there. This one's not responding right now. Again, it's kind of flaky with the Wi-Fi, but that's there. Also those Govee outdoor holiday lights, you can see them there under the soffit. And that's connected all the way over here down into a little box. That's been out here for the past year, haven't touched it, and still worked fine. Last camera, this is the Eve outdoor floodlight camera. As you can see, it is pretty far away from the house, and the closest Wi-Fi access point is inside the living room through those French doors. So periodically that camera will disconnect. I don't even know if I can access it right now. Let's see. Yeah, I'm not getting a live view right now, but you can see I had a recording from last night here. So it's on and off. Ideally, I want to get a Wi-Fi access point on the side of the house exterior. This way I can reach the camera, but maybe that'll be in next year's smart home tour. So came back inside so I can show you the studio, but did want to mention I have another contact sensor on this patio door, so I can see when that door opens and closes. And there's a bunch of sensors I didn't cover in this video, but I do have those contact sensors on a lot of doors, especially the exterior ones, plus water leak sensors under all the sinks. But now let's go to the studio where there's a ton of smart home stuff. All right, so I'm gonna resist doing like a full desk tour. I actually have a video on that coming. Get subscribed if you wanna see all the gear I use to make videos and podcasts. But I control this entire room through those HomePods on my desk whenever I need to record something. So I could say something like video blue. And it's going to set my blue filming scene, which turns on my key light, turns off the ceiling fan. It also lowers my Eve motion blinds, which I've had since we moved in. 3.5 years, still going strong. And you're going to see a bunch of smart lights back here, including an Eve Key Light Air on a smart home plug. I have the Hue Bloom, the Hue Play Bar, I think it is. And if we actually come in the studio, this one floor lamp, which is the Hue Sign floor lamp, this does a lot of the work to actually put color on the back wall whenever I'm filming. So anytime you see a purple video or a blue video, it's really this Hue sign lamp doing the work. Now up there in my hair light, which I don't have much hair anymore, but I still use it, that's an Eve Energy smart plug. Down here, I mentioned these devices before, but you can get a close-up, and also, you can't really see it, but on the other side, I have an Aqara T1 light strip, which gives me just a little more light on that back wall, so I can really wash the whole back with color. Now, like I mentioned before, those are Eve motion blinds blackout, so I can always control the lighting here in the studio. Here on the desk, I have a pair of big HomePods, those are second generation, and the Aqara G5, I think it is. I actually use that as a motion sensor, and I just didn't also know where to put that. I got the power over Ethernet version, so I have to put it where there's Ethernet. I would love for that to be my garage cam, but haven't run Ethernet there. Now, a new sensor I did just get was the Aqara FP300. This is their newest presence sensor, and this thing's wild because it's 5 sensors in one. So not only does it sense occupancy, and there's me in that Aqara camera right here, but it also senses temperature. Now, there's multiple temperature sensors here because the HomePods also act as temperature sensors. That's why you'll see Apple there. But there's the Aqara. Oh, it is the FP300. So it acts as a temperature sensor. It also acts as a humidity sensor, which the HomePods do as well. But it senses occupancy, not just motion, which is nice. And you can create automations like when there's no occupancy, turn off my shades, turn off all the lights, things like that. And it's also a light sensor. So this one battery-powered FP300 sensor does a lot. And you can run a lot of cool automations. I got this automation right here that when occupancy is detected, I have it just during certain times because I don't want this going off when I'm actually filming. So if I come into the office between 7 and 8:45, then it runs my office work scene, turns on the ceiling fan, raises the shades, all of that. Now the nice thing is too, I have a bunch of scenes not only for different colors, which I'll show you. If I want to go to video purple, I'll hit video purple. You'll see my whole studio turns purple. Again, a lot of that thanks to the Hue sign floor lamp. I also got my video blue, I got my video green, video orange, teal, pink, red, bright yellow. It's nice to just be able to switch colors in an instant. And again, a lot of that is the Hue bloom right there. Oh, there's my Jazz Lego set. Look at that. And the Hue sign floor lamp. But now if we look to the desk, one thing I did, I've been wanting to just land on a single desktop charger. This is not really HomeKit or smart home, but I put a 3M strip so this thing gets held to the desk. And because these cables are retractable, now I can pull them out and pull them back, and it doesn't move. So really like that thing. That's the Anker desktop charger. I use a Stream Deck for controlling my A10 Mini Pro. Again, this stuff's not HomeKit, but underneath the desk, I try my best with cable management, but you're gonna see a lot of smart plugs over there. There's also a couple hubs like the Aqara E something hub, I think. But those smart plugs actually control this Elgato Keyline Air, so it turns that on and off with my video scenes. And I also have my camera, the Sony a7 IV, plugged into a charger into one of those smart plugs. So whenever I turn on a video scene, I know my camera's charging, and whenever I turn off a video scene, my camera's not charging. I also have an automation to charge that for a couple hours in the early morning, just to make sure the camera's always charged. And if we look here on the desk tray, I have a lot of junk in here. I have a lot of pins. Got some pins from Relay.fm for the St. Jude Marathon. Of course, I have my Medieval Knight riding a polar bear pins. This is what I use in the background of my videos. But I do have the 2.0 HomeKit button that runs a scene. I have my Eve button here. I have the Wemo control button. And again, Wemo's discontinuing all its smart home stuff, so I wouldn't do a Wemo. I do have a flick button. Flick buttons require a hub, but they are pretty solid. And they just released a new one that's like a dual button, I believe, with Matter. NFC tag if I want to run an automation there. So I got a bunch of buttons here, but I actually end up shouting to my HomePods most often, especially here in the studio. So that was my smart home tour for this year. Links to everything is down in the video description. Plus you can go to beard.fm/home. I list everything there by category. If I missed anything, let me know in the comments, or if you have any questions, let me know down there as well. Also, I'll put my full review of the Level Lock Pro, which just came out, right over here. And I'll put another one of my smart home videos on this side. Get subscribed and hit that like button. Also, if you want to join my Shortcuts community, I've been wearing my Shortcuts merch. Link to that in the description, but also you can go to shortcut.bot. I talk about all kinds of Shortcuts automations. Smart home inevitably comes up a bunch, so would love your support there as well. But thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed the smart home tour. Let me know in the comments what you thought, what you'd like to see differently or more of in the future. So thanks for watching. I'll catch you next time.